friends, welcome again. Let us know the solar system. The solar system is the name given to our immediate neighborhood in space. It is made up of a star, the sun, 8 planets, more than 100 moons, and an assortment of comets, asteroids, and other space rocks and dust. All of these are held captive by the sun gravity. Inner planets, the asteroid belt made up of millions of rocky bodies, circles the sun. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars are on the inner side of the belt. What's in a name? Most of planets were named after Roman gods. Mercury is the winged messenger because it appears to move swiftly. Venus is named after the goddess of love because of it is the brightest and looks a beautiful planet. Mars is the god of war because of its red blood-like color. Jupiter is named after the king of the gods. It is the largest planet. Saturn is the father of Jupiter and the god of agriculture. Uranus is the Greek god of the sky, and Neptune is the Roman god of the sea, named for its color. What is a planet? It has its own quality. To qualify as a planet, an object has to meet a number of conditions. First condition is that it must be in orbit around a star, just as Earth orbits the sun. It must have cleared its orbit of other objects, which Pluto hasn't done. It must be large enough for its gravity to make it round. It must not be satellite, as for example the moon is a satellite of Earth. What are the outer planets? The planets outside of the asteroid belt are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Pluto used to be the most distant planet, but it failed the new planet test opposite. The planets circle or orbit the sun, spinning as they move. Which planet is the smallest in our solar system? The answer will be Mercury. The solar system has the sun. Our sun is a star, but it is closer to us than any other star. Like all stars, it is a massive ball of burning gas, fed by constant explosions. Without it, our planet would be lifeless. The sun is white. Its color is best seen when reflected in water. Never look directly at the sun. Shimmering lights can light up the skies towards the Earth's polar regions. The sun was born just under 5 billion years ago. Although it burns for millions tons of fuel each second, it is so big that it will continue to burn for another 5 billion years. What is the solar wind? The sun sends out a stream of invisible particles called the solar wind. When these pass Earth's north and south poles, they can create stunning colors. White areas show places where the sun's surface temperature is higher than elsewhere. Cooler, dark areas called sunspots sometimes appear on the surface. What are the blasts? Called solar flares. Blasts of hot gas sometimes flare up from the sun's surface in huge arcs or loops. They reach thousands of kilometers, miles into space. The sun is white, but false color images such as this allow astronomers to identify different features on its surface. While investigating the sun, various space probes have been designed to study the sun. Ulysses was launched in 1990 to look at the sun's polar regions. SOHO was launched in 1995 to observe the sun and solar activity. TRACE was launched in 1998 to study the sun's atmosphere. Does the sun spin? And the answer is yes, it does. It spins on its axis like the planets of the solar system. Eclipse of the Sun. It is a sunny day, but a shadow falls over the land. This is darker than a cloud covering the sun. The light dims completely, and for a few moments, day turns to night. This is a solar eclipse. You are lucky if you see a total eclipse. You could wait hundreds of years to see two in the same place. What is a solar eclipse? Solar eclipses occur when the moon passes between the sun and the earth. By doing this, the moon stops some of the sun's light from reaching earth. The resulting shadow means that temporarily day turns to night in certain places. The stages of a solar eclipse. Time-lapse photography shows how the moon covers the sun in stages. In a total eclipse, the sun will be completely covered. This is called totality. For up to 8 minutes, the sun's outer atmosphere, the corona, shows clearly at this time. It takes about 1 hour for the moon to block the sun's light once its shadow begins to move across the sun. The moon's shadow sweeps across the sun at about 1700 km per hour. The ringed wonder. In the instant before the sun disappears behind the moon, sunlight sometimes streams between mountains on the moon's surface, producing a stunning effect known as a diamond ring. The diamond ring effect lasts for just a few seconds. Plotting eclipses. Solar eclipses occur once every 15 months or so, and maps such as this one are used to plot the path of future eclipses. The shadow from a total eclipse follows a narrow path and often falls on an ocean, so it won't be seen unless you are on a boat. The map shows the paths of total solar eclipses to 2020. How long would it take if you could drive to the sun? And the answer is about 100 years, and that's at top speed. The solar system, and we have been talking about Mercury, the closest planet to the sun and far smaller than Earth. Mercury has blistering hot days but freezing nights. The nights get cold because Mercury has no atmosphere to trap the sun's heat. The surface mapping of the Mercury. In 1974 and 1975, the space probe Mariner 10 flew within 3 to 7 km of Mercury's surface. It took hundreds of photographs covering just under half the planet. It takes 88 days for Mercury to orbit the Sun, so it has the shortest year of all the planets in the solar system. It is an easy target. Mariner 10 provided close-ups of Mercury that showed a heavily scarred surface, rather like our moon. This planet has been battered by comets and meteors. This is partly because there is no protective atmosphere in which meteors can burn up. One of Mercury's craters, the Caloris Basin, is so large that the British Isles could fit comfortably into it. Many of Mercury's craters are named after famous painters, authors, and musicians. So you would find Mozart, Beethoven, Michelangelo, and Bach there. It is red hot. As Mercury faces the sun, temperature reach of sizzling 4 to 5 centigrade, hot enough to melt lead. Mercury is the second hottest planet after Venus. A patchwork picture of planet Mercury created using images taken by Mariner 10. A temperature map of Mercury red shows where the most heat is found. It is a small planet. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. Pluto, which is smaller, has now been reclassified as a dwarf planet. Cross section of Mercury showing its molten iron core. It is a long journey launched in 2004. Space probe Messenger set out on a journey to Mercury, its aim to reach the planet in 2008, fly by 3 times, then enter orbit around it in 2011. This close to the Sun, Messenger's heat shield will reach 700 Fahrenheit. In Roman mythology, who was Mercury? And the answer is Mercury was messenger to the gods. Within the solar system, the morning star. You wouldn't want to visit Venus. You would be crushed in an instant and your remains fried to a crisp. This barren planet is covered in acid clouds and it has an incredibly dense atmosphere. Where is it? Venus is the brightest planet. It can be seen in the early morning or early evening sky, depending on where it is in its orbit around the Sun. That's why it's known as the morning or evening star. From Earth, Venus is easiest to see when it appears to be farthest in the sky from the Sun. Venus's rocky plains without cloud cover shown by the binoculars. It caused by chemicals in the atmosphere. The dark cloud tops shown exaggerated on this image blow around the planet. A mass of clouds are there. The cloud layer is too thick to let much sunlight penetrate, but it does reflect a lot of light. In fact, after the moon, Venus is the brightest object in our night sky. So what is it like? This false color picture of Venus was made from data collected by probes, including the Magellan probe sent to Venus between 1989 and 1992. The blue areas represent huge plains of solid lava. The white, green, and brown areas are higher land, such as hills, mountains, volcanoes, and valleys. Venus has very long days since it takes 3 times longer to rotate on its axis than Earth does. See the surface of Venus. This view of the surface of Venus exaggerates the height of Mount Mons, the highest volcano on Venus. To show its slopes in more detail, Mount Mons is named after Maat, the Egyptian goddess of truth and justice. The surface temperature is about 900 Fahrenheit. Venus spins in the opposite direction to Earth, meaning the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. Let us know which planet is the nearest in size to Earth. And the answer is Venus. Its diameter is just 650 kilometers smaller than Earth's. And there is a third rock from the Sun. Our home planet, Earth, is the only one in the solar system capable of supporting life as we know it. It's the right temperature because it's neither too close to the Sun nor too far from it. Take a deep breath. All planets have an atmosphere made up of gases. Earth is mostly nitrogen and oxygen, with traces of carbon dioxide and other gases mixed in. Earth is the third planet from the Sun. It takes Earth 365.25 days to orbit the Sun. What is the warm blanket? Earth's atmosphere and oceans play a crucial role in keeping its temperature stable. They absorb the sun's heat and move it around the planet. This helps keep the temperature suitable for life. On the globe, the ocean's warm areas are colored red and its cooler areas are blue. Cut open an onion and you will see that is composed of layers. Earth has layers too, and they get hotter and hotter the deeper they go. A moving crust. A surface layer or crust is a shell of solid rocks. This crust is broken up into plates which shift around constantly on a middle layer of molten or liquid rock. Earth's core is solid. What is the danger zones? The areas where Earth's plates move against each other are often weak spots where volcanoes and earthquakes are common. Molten lava erupts from a volcano in Hawaii, which is located where there is a weak place in the Earth's crust. Earth is surrounded by a thin halo, our precious atmosphere. Earth is the only planet in our solar system with an atmosphere that animals and plants, as we know them, can breathe. Let us know which two planets lie between the Earth and the Sun. And the answer is Mercury and Venus. Earth is constantly spinning. It takes 24 hours to turn completely on its axis. Let us know about the Moon. Earth has one natural satellite, the Moon. It is the brightest object in the night sky, though it doesn't produce its own light. It is a black place with no water, no plants, no air, and no life. Spinning around and around, it takes 27 days for the Moon to travel around or orbit Earth. As it travels, it spins slowly. It actually spins just once during each orbit of the Earth. From Earth, we only see the near side of the Moon. The fore side of the Moon is never seen from Earth. The Moon may have been formed after an immense collision that sent debris into orbit around Earth. How did it form? Nobody really knows, but it was possibly after Earth was hit by another planet some 4.5 billion years ago. The Moon's gravitational pull gives Earth's ocean a bulge. Sea level change in particular areas as Earth spins. The red arrow represents Earth's rotational spin. Only one side of the Moon is ever seen from the Earth. What is the tide control? The twice daily rise and fall of Earth's oceans is mainly caused by the Moon's gravitational pull, which makes the ocean bulge a few meters in one direction. This bulge moves very slowly but appears to sweep round the Earth as it turns. Away from the bulge, it's low tide. As a place passes through the bulge, it's high tide. What are the Moon missions? Many unmanned space probes have been sent to investigate the Moon, including these below. Luna 3. A Russian probe took the first pictures of the far side of the Moon. Lunar Prospector discovered ice near the Moon's poles in 1999. Luna 9, a US probe, made the first soft landing on the Moon in 1966. A battered past, the Moon has been badly battered by meteors in its long history, leaving its surface full of craters. Why does the Moon produce so much light? It doesn't produce any light, it reflects the sun's light. There are so many Moon missions nowadays, but India is only successful country who sent the satellite to opposite side of the Moon. We must feel proud for that and be confident. Who is this red planet? Our nearest neighbor. It is a Mars, was named by the Romans after their god of war because its red color reminded them of blood. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun. It has an atmosphere, seasons, few mountains, and icy poles. Mars is half the size of the Earth. and conditions are very different to those on our planet. Although Mars has a thin atmosphere and seasons, nothing grows there. Its red, desert like surface is littered with dust and rocks. I spied two moons. Mars has two lumpy moons that were discovered in 1877. They are so tiny that astronomers think they were asteroids pulled into orbit around Mars by its gravity. Deimos and Phobos. Deimos, which means terror in Greek, is 16 km by 12 km. Phobos, which means fear in Greek, measures 28 km by 20 km. A Martian day lasts a little over 24 hours, 24 Earth hours, 39 minutes, and some seconds. Is there water on Mars? Surface temperature on Mars are too low for liquid water to exist, and Mars has no rivers, seas, or oceans. However, there was water once. We know this because of the existence of dried up water channels. A face on Mars. In 1976, Viking orbiter first sent a series of shots that showed a face on the planet's surface. Many saw this is an enormous sculpture built by intelligent life. It's actually a mountain. That's definitely Martian. There are a number of notable features on the surface of Mars. The planet experiences strong winds that create immense dust storms. Mars has a huge polar ice cap. If melted, the water would cover the planet. The Olympus Mons volcano is the largest in the solar system. The valleys, Martianaries, canyons would stretch across the USA. Is the Martian sky blue like ours? And the answer is no. If you stood on Mars, you would see a pink sky. And let us meet the king of the planets, Jupiter, the solar system's largest planet. Is a gas giant made up mainly of hydrogen. It is you. If all the planets in the solar system were combined, Jupiter would still weigh more than twice as much. The great red spot reaches about 8 km above the surrounding clouds. Winds reach 400 km per hour in the great red spot. A perfect storm is there. The great red spot is a permanent hurricane that in size is twice the diameter of Earth. Observed since 1666. Its swirling mass takes about a week to turn anti-clockwise. Jupiter is the fifth planet from the Sun. More than 1300 Earth-sized planets could fit into Jupiter. A thick cloud cover Jupiter's cloudy atmosphere is about 1000 km 600 miles deep, but the clouds do not hide a solid crust. They swirl over an inner liquid layer of hydrogen and helium. Jupiter's bands are caused by the movements and mixing of different gases in the atmosphere as the planet spins. Despite its size, Jupiter spins faster than any other planet. In fact, one rotation takes just under 10 hours. It spins so fast that it bulges slightly at the equator, and its clouds are pulled into thick bands. Let's take a closer look. The Galileo spacecraft reached Jupiter in 1995 and began to orbit the planet. It also dropped a probe into Jupiter's atmosphere. Before being destroyed after just 58 minutes in the intense heat and pressure, the probe sent back information about the planet. This is Io, one of Jupiter's many moons orbiting the planets. The probe entered Jupiter's atmosphere at 17,000 km per hour. Its descent was slowed by 2.5 meter wide parachutes. The Galileo probe was about the size and weight of a fairly small cow. As seen from space, Earth's color scheme comes from its land, oceans, and white clouds. Jupiter is pointed in oranges by the exotic chemicals in its atmosphere. Jupiter is shrinking slightly each year because it is being squeezed by its gravity. The energy produced means it produces more heat than it gets from the sun. Galileo ended its long mission when it dropped into Jupiter and was destroyed in 2003. No stopping me now. The 5.3 meter Galileo finished its main mission in 1997, but incredibly it survived until 2003, sending back lots of extra information about Jupiter. Jupiter's moons. Jupiter has 63 known moons and probably many more that haven't yet been spotted. Most are tiny and dark in color. Scientists think many of them are asteroids that have been caught by Jupiter's immense gravity. The Galilean moons. Jupiter's largest moons are named Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. One of its moons, Io, was shown by Voyager first to have volcanoes that are so active that its surface is constantly being torn up. There are rings too. Jupiter also has a ring system, which was first seen in images captured by the Voyager first space probe in 1979. The rings were formed by dust kicked up when meteorites have hit Jupiter's four inner moons. The moon spotting. The four largest moons were named by a German astronomer, Simon Marius. They were studied by Galileo Galilei in 1610, who thought at first that they were small stars. They can be seen from Earth with good binoculars. Europa has an icy surface crossed with lines that suggest deeper activity. Scientists believe the ice may cover a liquid salty ocean with a possibility of aquatic life. In fact, it has become the most likely place for extraterrestrial life in our solar system. Ganymede is larger than Mercury, but it is not a planet as it doesn't orbit the Sun. Scientists think this moon has a molten core surrounded by a rocky mantle, possible salt water, and an ice shell. Io is constantly undergoing volcanic eruptions across its surface, the result giving it an amazing yellow-orange color. In fact, it has more than 100 active volcanoes. The eruptions happen because this moon is continually tugged and pushed around by the gravities of the other three. Callisto's dark and dirty icy crust is covered with craters. The largest, Valhalla, has shock waves that spread out some 3,000 km. Astronomers believe the crust hides a rocky core. Callisto is incredibly battered, the result of thousands of meteorite strikes. Who is credited with discovering Jupiter's largest moons? And the answer is Galileo Galilei. Let us know about the Saturn. Saturn is the second largest planet in our solar system. It is huge. You could line up 9 Earths in a row across Saturn. But as it is largely composed of gas, you couldn't land a craft on its surface. It has the ringed beauty. Saturn isn't the only planet with rings, but it is the only planet whose rings are visible to us because of their large area. The rings are made up of ice, dust, and rocks. Ice in Saturn's rings reflects light. That's why we see them so well. Blown away. Even if you could land on Saturn, you would be blown away pretty quickly by the incredibly strong winds. Winds around the planet's equator can reach 1800 kilometers an hour. High winds on Earth would be very light winds on Saturn. Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun in the solar system. Saturn spins around once every 10 hours 39 minutes, making it budge at the middle as it spins. Saturn is named after the Roman god of agriculture. A mission to Saturn in 1997, the Cassini spacecraft blasted off for Saturn with a space probe named Huygens on board. Cassini went into orbit around Saturn in June 2004 and Huygens was dropped onto its largest moon, Titan, in January 2005. There are vital statistics. Cassini sent back lots of information because of some amazing features. The craft contains more than 12 km of wire. It is the size of coach but it's only a little heavier in weight than an elephant. More than half its weight is made up of its fuel. It carries a camera that could spot a coin from almost 4 km. Huygens is now the furthest human-made object ever to land on a celestial body. Titan is difficult to study because of its thick orange clouds. Huygens transmitted data for about 5 hours, but only about 2 hours was picked up before Cassini lost the signal after moving over Titan's horizon and therefore out of range. It remained active for longer than anyone had hoped. Which other planets have rings even though we can't see them? And the answer is Jupiter, Neptune and Uranus all have rings. Distant twins, Uranus and Neptune are the 7th and 8th planets from the Sun and are often referred to as twins because of their similar size and makeup. Uranus was discovered in 1781 by William Herschel. He named it Georgium Sidus or George Stars in honor of King George III of Great Britain. This name was not popular, so it was later renamed Uranus. Unlike the other planets, Uranus orbits the Sun on its side. Unusual seasons are there. It takes 84 years for Uranus to orbit the Sun. The poles each experience 42 years of winter, then 42 years of summer. For 21 of those years, they are each in continental darkness or light. Uranus looks a lot plainer than this false color suggests, but this image gives astronomers a lot of information about the planet. Uranus is encircled by at least 11 narrow rings made of rocks and dust. The close-up picture shows Uranus rings. Neptune, a blue planet. Neptune is named after the ancient Roman god of the sea. Neptune takes 165 years to orbit the Sun. So since its discovery in 1846, it hasn't completed a full orbit. It is due to do this in 2011. These two pictures show the rings of Neptune. The planet has at least 4 faint rings made up of dust particles. Neptune is a very cold planet. This isn't surprising as it is 30 times further away from the Sun than the Earth. Imagine, from Neptune, the Sun probably looks as small as the stars look to us. Neptune has 13 known moons. Its largest moon, Triton, is bitterly cold and has a heavily pitted surface as well as active volcano-like eruptions. A day on Neptune lasts 16 hours 7 minutes. There is a big storm. Neptune is incredibly stormy. In 1989, Voyager 2 discovered a storm the size of Earth on Neptune's surface. The storm lasted several years. Voyager 2 has flown past both Uranus in 1986 and Neptune in 1989. It discovered 10 of Uranus's moons and 6 of Neptune's. Most information had to be gathered in just a few hours as it spent on its way. In Greek mythology, who was Uranus? And the answer is the god of the heavens. Pluto, a ball of ice and rock, was discovered in 1930 and became our solar system's ninth planet. However, in 2006, it was reclassified as a dwarf planet. Why isn't it a planet? Pluto was reclassified as it is just one of many objects in what is known as the Kuiper belt. Other named dwarf planets in our solar systems are Ceres and Eris. The Kuiper belt is a band of comet-like objects that orbit the Sun beyond Neptune. There is a frozen world. At times, the surface of Pluto has an atmosphere. It appears when Pluto is closer to the Sun and its ice is warmed to release gas, but it refreezes and disappears when Pluto moves farther away from the Sun. Pluto is estimated to be about 2300 km in diameter. Eris is some 3000 km in diameter. Even some of the solar system's moons are larger than Pluto, including our moon. Pluto orbits the Sun slightly different to the main planets. Its orbit also takes it nearer the Sun than Neptune for part of the 248 years of its orbit. Pluto doesn't lie in the same plane as the 8 planets of the solar system. Pluto's surface is thought to be frozen nitrogen, which gives off gas if its temperature is raised. Pluto takes 248 Earth years to orbit the Sun. Scientists hope to learn a lot about Pluto when New Horizons reaches the planet. Just look at this picture comparing the size of Pluto with other dwarf planets. Eris was only discovered in 2003. Ceres is the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt. Pluto has 3 moons. The largest is called Charon. It moves around Pluto every 6 days. 2 smaller moons, Nix and Hydra, were discovered in 2005. The New Horizon is the satellite, a mission to Pluto in 2006. The US Space Agency NASA launched a spacecraft called New Horizons that is currently heading for Pluto. It will take 10 years to make the 5 billion km journey. New Horizons blasted into space on board an Atlas V rocket. Can you guess how long it takes the Sun's light to reach Pluto? And the answer is, it takes about 5.5 hours. Thanks for watching the solar system.